This is the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk with martial arts practitioners about their histories and the influence their practice of martial arts has on their lives. You are listening to the free version of this podcast, which is abbreviated. Help support this program by considering to subscribe to us on Patreon and access the full-length version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcasts, all for the price of one coffee shop coffee per month. Go to www.patreon.com/malmag. That's www.patreon.com/malmag. In this episode, I talk with my friend Michael Perez about his history, about applying the martial arts mindset to learning new things, and relating guitar playing to martial arts. Sit back and enjoy this conversation with Michael Perez. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. And today I've got a good friend of mine that I actually met back in, I think it was 2019, right? Was it 2019?
Yeah, Guru Dance Seminar.
Guru Dance Seminar. So back in 2019, I was substituting for Joel Clark as he done for some medical stuff. And I was traveling with Guru Dan Nasanto to assist him at some seminars. And it was Waterloo, Indiana, I believe, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I met this nice gentleman, Michael Perez, who I'm talking to today, and he's from Toledo, Ohio. And we've kind of been friends ever since, I think, kind of catching up online. And so I wanted to share his story with everyone on the podcast this week. So welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got started in martial arts.
Well, I've always been fascinated with it as a kid. The Karate Kid movies, Rocky movies. I've always been fascinated with the human body, athleticism, just the movement. I've always found beauty in the movement. Well, about 18, I actually enrolled in a karate school, Shorin-ryu, under Joseph Hertzellers, and I was there probably about 2 years, and it was great. It helped feed the fire, so to speak, but I always felt like there was something missing, something more to it. And it was around that time that Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, had come out. And in the movie, I know he didn't write the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, but they highlight this in the movie. And I thought, oh wow, I didn't know he had this book out. So as soon as the movie's done, I rush out, get the book, and I probably have read this book 100 times over. Every time I read it, I always find something new in it, or something that I didn't quite get back then, but I do now. And it just opened my eyes to a whole different world of things, not just martial arts, but just religion, culture, food, just the idea of keeping an open mind and not restricting yourself to just one thing. So it really opened a whole different world to me at such a young age. At 18, you don't really know a whole lot. You're still young. You don't have a lot of it.
Hey, don't tell an 18-year-old that. They don't know that.
Right. But yeah, so, I read this, and it was exactly what I was looking for. Spoke to me on so many different levels. And I've been hooked ever since, not just on JKD, but other arts. It wasn't until 8 years ago when I went to my first Guru Dan Inosanto seminar in Canton under the Hatches that I was introduced to the Filipino martial arts. And I was bitten by the bug. I see these two gentlemen at the seminar doing some Rada, thinking to myself, what the hell is this? What are these guys doing? How do they know to move like this? How does he know to react this way and move here? And, and God bless these gentlemen. It was a father and son duo, and the father writes it out for me. Now, remember, this is the first time I'm seeing this. I know nothing about it. He writes it, and it could have been in Japanese. I did not understand it. I'm like, okay, roof block, a number 8 to a roof, and then inside deflection to a 1. Is that, what is this? So I come home after the seminar. I'm excited. I look it up on YouTube, and I see this demonstration, and I'm following one guy to get it down. And then I follow the other guy, and then I realize it's just this repeating pattern. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm doing this out on my back porch by myself, using my imagination of, these strikes are coming at me and I've got to block and do it this way. but it wasn't until I had my first class with the hatches that it really brought it into fruition and helped me understand it more. It just, I've been in love with the arts ever since. And
Wow.
yeah, it's JKD as well, as I could learn as much as I could through books, but I was still missing that human factor. Having someone there to give me that pressure testing or to help me critique certain things that you just can't get out of a book. You have to have that person there to help you and
Right.
refine those movements. And that's what I got from Hedges. They're great instructors. I love them to death. I couldn't have asked for better people. I spent years trying to find a place to study these arts, and I think the closest I found was Columbus. But at the time, I was still a little skeptical about traveling at 18, 2.5 hours away to try and find a school, much less be accepted into it. So I did what I could from books. And like I said, it wasn't until 8 years ago that I discovered the Hatches, and I've been with them ever since.
Wow. So let's kind of go back to your genre roots a little bit. Genre, you said, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. Must be a quite a popular martial arts style, at least in the Midwest, because that's also the art I started in Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So was a Shorinru guy in Toledo there that you studied with?
Yes, Joseph Herzeller.
Wow.
And I probably cannot remember anything from it anymore.
I probably knew 24 katas, but I'm going to be embarrassed and say that I don't remember them. However, I've been very lucky. My first martial art instructor, who I hope to interview on this at some point, lives in Phoenix, Arizona now. So he's within distance of me. And before COVID, would actually be in LA quite a bit on business. And so after, so many years, got a chance to reconnect with him and see him at least once or twice a year. So I'm like, you know what, let me, just kind of being the way we are in this sort of Inosanto family, going, you know what, I don't want to trash anything. So I'm going to probably find myself going back and reviewing and re-getting the stuff that I actually did take for a decade,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to kind of throw that to the wayside, because and interesting too, because you're talking about being influenced by the Karate Kid, and that was Okinawan karate that they were doing. And it's funny when you look at the show, especially, they show these photos of, they talk about the Miyagi family, and they show a real guy, Miyagi Chojin, who was a Goju guy, who was also one of the teachers of Shimabuku, or Eizu Shimabukuro, who was the head of the system that I studied in. So it's like I had a great connection to this out of my own history. And that's like Lee Grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Lee studied with Shimabuku in Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
As well. So Lee's like a high-ranking Shorinru black belt himself.
Nice.
So it's kind of interesting how these things kind of all connect.
Oh, yeah.
And then how did you discover, so you say the Hatches, so for our audience that doesn't know who that is, that's David and Linda Hatch out of Michigan.
Correct.
And
Canton, Michigan. Yep.
Yeah, and wonderful people. I love them to death as well, and hope to get them on the show at some point.
Mm-hmm. He's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's like the keeper of Michigan secrets.
Exactly.
He's trained with so many people, and he had so many influences and influenced so many people. It's crazy.
Well, certainly, yeah. If you're talking about, JKD and Kali in Midwest, David Hatches and Linda Hatch are two people you have to discuss. I mean, they are part of that whole, they are like, the heartbeat of it there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I love about David too, he's one of the few people at his height that stands, and looks me eye to eye.
Yeah. He's an iron giant.
No doubt. So how did you get involved with them? I mean, you're Ohio, they're Michigan. It's not like it's super close, but it is kind of next door.
Yeah. Well, this ad came up on Facebook one day about the seminar. Somebody was promoting it, and I thought, I'm not getting any younger. Guru Dan has been such a huge influence through his books and videos that I thought I'd take the opportunity to go there and just meet him, just to be in the same space as him. And I took the opportunity at the end of the seminar to go up to him and thank him for being such an influence and for carrying on with promoting JKD as, and just being such a huge motivation to me. And when I discovered that the Hatchers were the sponsors of the seminar and that they were in Canton, I contacted them on Facebook and said, what do I need to do to become a student? Do I got to stand in the rain with jugs in my hands, for hours on end? What do I need to become a student? Tell me. I want to train. I want to get into this. And the rest is history. I had an interview with them at their house and started from there.
Wow. So do you do more like you kind of go and hang out there for a while and train with them and then bring it home? And
yes. Yeah. I do private lessons with them. Well, once a month, sometimes a few, but yeah, it's best time spent.
That's, it's one of the things that I don't know if it's unique to the JKD community, but it's certainly, your story with that is not an unusual one for me to hear, because I hear of a lot of people who travel distances to go, get some knowledge and then take it home. And I don't know if that's, a product of the fact that Guru was really kind of started the seminar phenomenon, back in, I think, the very 70s. And it became almost a norm for people to learn and train this way. And, you do hear some people bash it, but, I've got to turn around and go, look, you can jump on that all you want, but, what you see is people who take little bits of information, and to them, it's a diamond, and take that little bit and they go and they work it and they work it and they work it till they have it. And then they come back and get the next bit. Where if you're at the source, like I'm currently at the source, and you get a river of knowledge poured on you all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's a little different. And, if you're not prepared to deal with it that way, sometimes for some people, it might be easy to take it for granted. And I think the folks that are learning the way you're learning don't necessarily take it for granted, because you treasure each little piece that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you put in time with it, which is, extremely admirable. And, the moment someone says, kind of points fingers like, oh, well, what can you learn on a seminar and blah, blah, blah. I point to someone who's probably come up on just about every podcast I've done so far, and that's Rick Fay. It's like, tell me that guy who's, realistically seminar trained, I think. I mean, I don't remember him ever reading about him going to the academy and hanging out there. He just went to seminars, a lot of them.
There's quite a few people that I know that actually travel to the seminars, and that's just all they do.
Yeah.
They basically just follow Guru from one spot to another.
Yes.
And that's their training. And, I commend these people for it. That shows a tremendous amount of dedication. These people that will take that time and just follow him wherever, just to get that time with him and that knowledge.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, I think that too, especially, being out here in LA there and seeing people who do show up 2, 3, 4 times a year from as far away as the other side of the world to go, yeah, you know what? I really like these people. They're kind of cool.
Oh yeah. That shows a huge amount of dedication on their part. And some people might try to cut that down and, oh, well, it's just seminar training, but they don't realize that he gives a lot of information in those seminars. I mean, you're talking 5-hour days, and there's a lot that you go over.
Yeah.
You may have 3 minutes to work on something because he moves on to the next piece of material, but it's a lot of stuff. And if you don't, I always recommend for people to take notes, because, shorthand, I never thought shorthand would come in handy until my first seminar. Like, Jesus Christ, you're going so fast. I gotta shorten this down so I can write it quicker.
Yeah. And then rewrite the notes.
After. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, my first seminar notes
on the website about seminar survival techniques, and that's like one of them is
yes.
rewrite right away, because they make good sense to you when you're writing them down in the moment.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then no sense to you 48 hours later.
Oh, yeah. You get home and you're like, what the hell is this? I can't understand this. Now I'm going to spend another couple of days trying to decipher this.
No lie. And I think it's one of the good things too, that the way he teaches, and I think everyone within the family teaches, certainly, David and Linda the same way. They're giving you a way that leads to the next thing. So you actually will discover the next things kind of on your own.
Oh, yeah. They give you enough to plant that seed
Yes.
of discovery. And as you're going through the motions, training, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, then I can do this and I can move here and I can, and I like the guru said this once in a seminar where it's when you discover things, a lot of it's, self-discovery on your own when you're training. Right. And, he'll have people come up to him and go, oh, check this out. Check out what I did. Or I came up with this. And he'll come and go, oh, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. And kind of disappointed, but it's because he's seen it 1,000 times or he already knows about it. But you tend to grab it harder, hang on to it, or it hits you harder when you discover it yourself.
Right.
It means more to you then at that moment, as opposed to someone saying, okay, do it this way. Because there's been plenty of times I go to Seafood Dave and, I check this out. I came up with this and yeah, okay. Like, hey, you're not shocked. It's kind of cool. Well, no, I mean, you're right, but we haven't gotten there yet. You're getting ahead, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Oh, man.
You get the picture of that little kid bringing that drawing to the parents. They go, yeah, we'll put that on the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
Good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Get so excited and then it's, okay.
So do you have a school or a training group that you operate where you're at then?
I teach out of my home. I called it dynamic self-defense. So because it's an eclectic collection of the arts that we study. So, some people want to come for the JKD, some of them want Muay Thai, some of them want the Kali, and some of them want it all. So it's just a matter of who wants what.
Wow.
But what's fascinating is, I'll get some people who know nothing about Kali. And when I start showing them things, they're like, oh my God, yeah, I want to learn this. When you talk to them about like what's functional, as opposed to what's flashy.
Right.
And as soon as they see it, their eyes get huge and like, oh yes, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that I don't even have to sell it. It sells itself.
Yeah, that it does. It's kind of an addicting thing. I remember when I first started JKD early 90s, and it was a guy that was advertising in like a Weekender magazine, and he taught at these tennis courts outside of a community center in Tampa, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, this sounds like JKD, the backyard and blah, blah, blah. So, I marched right out because I got along with him on the phone. And so I went out to see the class and a demo and stuff. And it turned out he was, only about 5 years older than me. So, we had the same music taste. And so there was a lot of, personal connection as well. And so as I watched it, I'm like, yeah, okay, this looks like the JKD types of things I've seen before. And I want to do this. And of course, there was the Kali in there too. And once I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I've seen and heard this. Yeah, sure, I'm happy to do that. And the moment I got my hands on those sticks and started doing the stuff, I'm like, whoa, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of those things, again, like you said, it sells itself. The moment you do it, it's a weird addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just the type of skills and attributes you develop from it. It's amazing. I'd have never thought to be able to wield two sticks at once, or stick and dagger, or dagger and dagger, and just, put them together in combinations, or just how the movements help you to use your hands later.
Right.
I always try to tell people the angles stay the same. It's the weapons that change. The movements are the same no matter what you're using. So like I said, it sells itself when you explain it in that sense.
Exactly.
Just to put it into motion, like, it amazes me still. I'll sit there and if I'm filming for things to help promote it, and then it's like, damn, I'm doing that. That's kind of cool. It's just amazing, just the things that it can make you do, the ambidexterity that you can build with it. It's people, I get people all the time. Oh, I don't think I can do that. I'm not coordinated enough. Trust me, you can learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a skill that you can develop.
I have to tell everyone, anyone who goes with a coordination excuse, I'm like, okay, I am one of the most uncoordinated human beings on the planet.
Right.
Trust me, I've been at this for 40 years. If you think I look good, it's got nothing to do with natural ability. It's got to do with just being a stubborn bastard, sticking with it and continuing to do it over and over again. Think I'm terrible? Yeah, I think you know.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Please remember to hit the like button and please subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Please consider supporting the program by going to patreon.com/malmag and subscribing for access to the full-length podcasts. Again, that is www.patreon.com/malmag. Thank you for listening to this episode with Michael Perez. Coming up next week, one of my well-regarded seniors in the Inosanto family and good friends, Sifu Dwight Woods from Miami. Check out the Malmag store at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the store tab. There you'll find a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA, some Timmy B's brand shirts, and some very sharp-looking Dos Manos shirts. This show is produced by Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine. Visit us at martialartslifestylemagazine.com. Music by Jackal Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.